who is the founder of Luminous Group, Mr. Rajiv Jain, who is working as Vice President Government Affairs with India Electronics and Semiconductor Association, Mr. Gaur Saha, Head of Sales, Energy Management Northern Region for Siemens, and Mr. Hiren Shah, Head of Business Industrial Relations, Panasonic. Can we please have all the speakers on stage? All right, Mr. Somal, I'll hand it over to you.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for your patience and for your perseverance. And it's my honor to end this afternoon's discussion with this whole Make in India panel. One point before we go on, and that is I want to thank Customized Energy Solutions, CES, for their spearheading this effort here in Delhi, along with the other organizer. We really very much appreciate the leadership. I've been involved with Stephen Fernandez, who we've given today a Goan name, Fernandez, but I've been involved with Stephen Fernandez and Rahul Walwalkar in really this whole effort in spearheading energy storage. I think back to Washington, D.C. I know that many of you participated in that program. I think back recently to San Jose in Silicon Valley, a year ago in Mumbai, and now here we are in East Delhi. Not easy to get to, and I'm really impressed by how many people are here today. And so we're building momentum. And it's very clear to me that this is a technology that the government needs to be seizing on, and we need to collectively come up with a strategy on how do we accelerate implementation of energy storage in India under the new Narendra Modi government. On that note, let me segue. Make in India. For those of you visiting India, this Prime Minister, when I knew him as Chief Minister of Gujarat, is absolutely focused on creating jobs and opportunity and indigenous manufacturing capability and high-end technology more than any other man I have ever met. When I think of what he has done in the state of Gujarat as Chief Minister, as 3 times elected Chief Minister, where you have DuPont Corporation, Abbott Laboratories, Ford Motor Company, the largest ever manufacturing facility of Ford outside of the United States, based in Gujarat. When I think of the magnetism of attracting companies to Gujarat, like Tata and so many others, this is a Prime Minister who we all need to be working with to encourage to move just as quickly on implementing a major energy storage industry here in India. So the purpose of today's panel is to discuss with people who are on the ground, my panel colleagues, what is it that we need as a message to send to Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, that he would need to do and that he would want to do to enable a Make in India approach to energy storage, not just for energy storage and renewable energy development in India, but for global export. There is no reason why India shouldn't be at the top of the list, a leader in export of energy storage around the world. We should not cede that.
I would just caution some of that enthusiasm, however, with a few ideas before we turn to the eminent panelists. And that is, no one today has spoken, and no one that I'm familiar with yesterday has spoken about the oil price shock that we're now currently experiencing. When I think about 1978, when I entered the oil industry, oil then was $50 a barrel. 3 years later, by 1981, the price of oil had fallen to $20 a barrel, and a year later, it had slipped down to $12 a barrel. So I ask today, is $50 a barrel today's floor? Does it matter to any of us here? What effect might this have on financing development of new technologies like energy storage? Of course, the upside of cheap oil is that it economic recovery. It makes it easier for all countries to recover economically. India's current account deficit, as an example, is feeling pretty good right now. Just imagine if oil were $110 or $115 a barrel, where India imports 80% of its hydrocarbons. Just imagine how badly the rupee would be clobbered today. So right now, Raghuram Rajan, the Reserve Bank governor, is enjoying a reprieve with $69 oil. If oil were $100 or north of $100 a barrel, India would be in much worse shape. But at these prices, $69 a barrel, we're already beginning to see in the United States that in the oil shale industry alone, there may be a 30% cut in production just because that new technology will be hit by low-cost oil. In Canada, big projects like oil sands may be scrapped altogether at $69 oil, certainly if it hits $50 oil. And I only raise this issue out of caution because what's going to happen to new technologies like renewable energy, like energy storage, if oil continues to slide? Something to be watching. Now, on the good side, the one thing that I think that we should all congratulate ourselves on is the issue of renewable energy price. The myth had always been that renewable energy would never be at cost parity to conventional energy. And I think we've crossed that Rubicon. And that's an extraordinary achievement. Over the past 5 years, we've seen solar and wind costs come down dramatically. And when you look at price comparisons, you can almost say that natural gas today is at 6 cents a kilowatt hour, coal is at 6.6 cents a kilowatt hour. The investment bankers would tell you that if you did a true cost comparison of solar, you're at 7.2 cents a kilowatt hour, and wind at 3.7 cents a kilowatt hour. So these low costs are attributable to advance in technology and new approaches in financing. These are significant steps where it is now becoming viable and feasible for governments like Germany, as we heard today, to say, let's scrap the conventional energies and let's get really going on the renewables. So renewables are here to stay. The issue on renewables, of course, is the issue of dispatch, and that's where energy storage comes into play. And that's why I think there is so much opportunity here in India. One last point on dispatch. Again, half the country, I'm guessing, is still off-grid. Half of India is still off-grid. So the area that I would think that there would be a massive opportunity, even though we've had the invitation from Mr. Bansal at Bombay Suburban here in New Delhi, the opportunity, I think, is what do we do out in the hinterland of India? There is so much opportunity where there is so much need. Even with the Indian military that has so many military bases, where if only we could hook up renewable energy and energy storage for those extended communities outside the major urban centers, there is a remarkable opportunity awaiting us here. And I'm suggesting that at the end of this discussion today, I am happy to put forward an idea that I think may gain traction where we can find some financing to take us into the last lap on how do we have energy storage become viable here in India. So enough from me. I want to turn it now over to our eminent panelists. We have real players that are on the ground. We have one gentleman, Mr. Rakesh Malhotra, who needs to get to 2 weddings tonight. One of you down, and you and I know that's 2 hours drive from here. So we're going to let him go first. Karen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Rajiv Jain go second, because he's going to make some complimentary remarks. Mr. Saha, I think we'd love to have you end the discussion because Mr. Saha represents Siemens, and Siemens is truly a Make in India best example that we could ever hope for. And he will, this whole panel, by the way, what they're going to talk about is what is it that we need Mr. Modi to do now, to genuinely encourage and inspire a Make in India approach to this very important issue of renewable energy and energy storage in India. So on that note, may I invite Rakesh Malhotra, founder of Luminous Group and SAR Group. They have major operations in the state of Himachal Pradesh. If I could ask Rakesh to go first, then I'm going to ask Rajiv Jain, Vice President, Government Affairs of Indian Electronic Semiconductor Association, to provide complimentary remarks as to what he feels the government is doing and what more the government should be doing to push it in the right direction. Then we'll be followed by Mr. Hiran Shah of Panasonic India. Everybody knows the name Panasonic. And then last but not least, Mr. Gaur Saha, the head of the sales in the entire Western region for Siemens in India. So let us begin with Rakesh, but again, thank you for your perseverance. Rakesh.
Good afternoon, everybody. I think I have, as an introduction, let me give a brief one. My name is Rakesh Malhotra. I got into the energy storage space only in 2006. Prior to that, we were using batteries for a long time, made by one of the larger Indian brands, which is listed here on the back. And we started manufacturing lead-acid batteries in 2006 and built a reasonable business around the power backup batteries space, and been growing rapidly from there. So as we all know, lead-acid batteries is a reasonably matured industry in the country, but now the energy storage demands and the applications are going in so many different ways that there are various other things that need to happen. As a founder of the company in 2011, I actually exited my majority stake in this company and then started looking around what next to do. And as a result of that search, my natural gravitation was to try and do something in the energy storage space again. And lead-acid batteries being an area of non-compete for me, I had to look by force of the circumstances. I had to look outside of lead-acid batteries, and then we started to see the horizon here and see what is going on. And after a year and a half of looking deep into various places in India, the academic institutes, the defense labs, all the other spaces, we actually couldn't come up with a meaningful potential business opportunity that one could take out in terms of the locally indigenously developed technologies that were already out there, and then develop products out of them and scale them into businesses. So in 2013, we ended up going outside India and trying to build an alternate chemistry business, which we are getting ready now to bring into India for Make in India. But the technology had to be done outside, and the reason why we had to do it outside is because the ecosystem for feeding that kind of innovation and that kind of product development just did not exist on the ground. And it's not as if we don't have people who work in energy storage or who are exposed to chemistry. It's just that not enough institutional focus is there to that space. We find mention on energy storage in the National Electric Mobility Mission, National Renewable Energy Mission, smart grids, and everywhere, but frankly it doesn't connect to the last mile where the real work is going to happen, and there is really not that much of an ecosystem. So one of the Make in India imperatives from my perspective would be to create a local innovation ecosystem which will start to feed into developing locally relevant, market-oriented technologies that can meet the rather stringent value equations that any Indian customer has. And anyone who's making any product here in this country knows that you have to deliver higher value than most places in the world. And I don't think it is going to be easy to straight cut, copy, paste the technologies that exist overseas and make them happen here and make them in India. The size of energy storage products demand, other than the conventional areas which already exist and are well fed, is likely to grow very fast, and I don't see any supply that is actually getting built to feed that market. So if a Reliance Jio has to buy $200 million worth of lithium-ion cells to power a few towers here and there, that's not a situation. I mean, are we using a lot of that market opportunity into converting into some form of a local manufacturing or capability here? I don't think we are, and it's almost strange that we have so much of an interesting policy around electronics. For example, one of the businesses I'm involved in personally is in the electronics manufacturing, and the Make in India support, which Rajiv will talk about separately, is quite exciting, and even states are going on top of the national policy and offering additional incentives to attract electronics manufacturing. I don't really see that kind of connection with the energy storage industry. In fact, for some strange reason, you can make any type of battery and get incentives under the national manufacturing incentive policies except lead acid, even if it is new technology in lead acid batteries, because lead acid apparently has been left out of the priority list, which is probably 85-90% of what the next few years of demand will look like in this country. So the advanced lead acid batteries for electric mobility or for energy storage or for renewable storage or distributed storage, these are things that are right now left out of the ambit of importance as far as the government policy is concerned. So I think connecting what is required for the marketplace here with the policy initiatives is, I think, one of the recommendations that one could leave the table with. Another one would be creating an ecosystem of innovation. Recently, I am told there is one company that has got an 11 crore grant for developing solid-state batteries out of one of the ministries under the National Electric Mobility Mission. Interesting start, but there are 1,200 projects that ARPA-E funds for different types of energy storage projects in the United States, and we've got to have a few more to get that ecosystem of innovation going. So I think I'm going to kind of leave these two because I've got colleagues here who have specializations in different areas, but I would think an ecosystem of innovation and a way to fund early stage risk, and at least equal incentives for Make in India as there are for other industries that are seen as import substitution like electronics or others. I think I'll leave you people with these two as my thoughts here and hand it over back to them.
Rakesh, before we do the ecosystem of innovation, when you speak of, how do you see that emerging? What would it look like? Just give us a better handle on it.
So this evening, this afternoon, actually, we were having a conversation with the team from Rahul's team, and we were talking about what makes for the value of depth for battery companies that are trying to innovate. So first thing is it takes a long time to get any kind of an energy storage product to be demonstrated to be successful, because first you've got to get the chemistry right, then you've got to get the packaging right, then you've got to get the application right, and then you have to demonstrate it really works. So all of this is never going to be compressed into a very short period of time. So typically a lot of risk funding is necessary through that period before the company gets to a point where it can demonstrate a differentiated technology that is being innovated on. The second part, once you get to that point, a lot of companies die after that, even after getting funded a lot, and this is true of the West as well. Because by nature, energy storage products, the customer is taking a risk on the manufacturer's ability to provide reliability. So invariably, the reputation and the trust that he can pose in the supplier is also an issue that comes up. So somewhere connecting larger established players who are system integrators or storage players with the companies that innovate, and finding ways to marry them together might be an interesting way to cross that bridge for most companies.
Thank
leave abruptly. I have to catch another
2 weddings.
Both of them in the family just got a little busy, so I'll take your leave. Thanks very much for this.
Well done, thank you. Rajiv Jain, Indian Electronics Association. Where is the government now on Make in India? Are they doing the right things, or can they do more?
Just to give a brief background about myself, I have spent years in the corporate world, in the manufacturing side, into the business side as well, into consulting and project financing. Before I took over this role about 5-7 years back. And currently, as part of the Indian Electronics and Semiconductor Association, I drive the policy advocacy part with the government, both with the government of India and the state governments. Primarily more on the electronics and the semiconductor space. There are some good initiatives announced by the government, but definitely they are not there is still scope for more of them to come. And I think we can definitely, from this panel discussion as well as from the feedback, we can definitely make some good recommendations back to the government as to what more needs to be done if we truly want to have a Make in India story. So, can I move on to the next slide of the presentation?
Just pressing the button. Is the button up there?
No, wait. Is it there on the Okay, fine. Just a brief overview for the benefit of the delegates here. What ISA is all about. I think maybe we can call it the other ISA, because I think the main organizer of the event is the India Energy and Storage Alliance, and we are the other IESA over here, that's the India Electronics and Semiconductor Association. A 10-year young body with about 235 members in different parts of the value chain, across verticals and across horizontals. Verticals means in telecom, consumer, automotive, strategic electronics, and when it's in horizontal, it means manufacturing, product development companies, design companies, academia, startups, VC funds, etc. And today we are headquartered out of Bangalore and with an office in Delhi. So what is it for the benefit? What are the salient policy initiatives from the Government of India? So one is the MSIPS package, which is called the Modified Special Incentive Package. Under this package, the companies are allowed to get a benefit of 20 to 25% of the capex as a cash, as a grant from the Government of India. This is, let's say, subject to meeting a threshold investment. And this is, I'll illustrate with an example as well. So let's say, for example, let's take the case of an inverter. Since Rakesh talked about earlier the battery storage or inverter. You want to set up an inverter manufacturing business, and let's say you are going to set up with an investment of about or let's say $5 million. Equivalent is about 20 crores. On a $5 million, today the threshold investment under the government scheme is about $1.5 million. So since the project outlay is more than the threshold investment, one is able to get the benefit of that 20% capital subsidy or a 25% capital subsidy on the entire investment which you make on a project. So let's say your investment is $5 million, you get 20% subsidy, you get $1 million back on that capex. Why 20% or why 25%? That is depending on whether the unit is located in a special economic zone or a non-special economic zone. For the benefit of the delegates from abroad, a special economic zone has benefits where you can get duty-free import of inputs. So since there's already a benefit extended over there in terms of import of the inputs without paying any duty, in a non-special economic zone you have to pay duty. To differentiate or provide for that differentiation, the government has given a higher benefit of 5% capex subsidy if a unit is located in a non-special economic zone. But the scheme benefits that don't end over there. The good part of the scheme is, if you were to make continuous investments over a 10-year period, example, you start a project on 1st of January 2015, and you have a plan to make investment over a period of 10 years that is going up to 2024, whatever capex you make further during this 10-year period, after making the threshold investment, you will continue to get the benefit of this capex subsidy of 20% or 25% on the entire investments that you make over the life cycle of your 10-year period. So that's a big incentive over there. And there is already a budgetary allocation made by the Government of India for this scheme. Typically, we have concerns that, okay, the policies are announced, but implementation, there are holes in that. The biggest hole is there a budgetary allocation of that subsidy? So the answer is yes. There is a budgetary subsidy of about $2 billion already allocated by the government on this subsidy, on this grant, which means if you look at the 20% and 5 times that, so $10 billion of investments can be supported by the government under this scheme. That's a major benefit of this scheme. So energy storage companies are also covered under this. Yes, there is a, like over there, Rakesh mentioned about that, lead acid batteries. That is something currently not covered, and maybe out of this forum, we can probably make a recommendation, strong recommendation to the government, given that it has a lot of scope, multiple applications. You talk of the national electric mobility or other applications. We could make that recommendation that this could be included in the areas to be covered under the capex subsidy, because that will give a fillip to the companies to set up the units and build up the support ecosystem over there. I think I probably jumped on that slide, but this is what I wanted to talk about and have been covered in this slide. Any questions? You can always feel free at the end of the talk, or maybe what Ron will suggest. Secondly, scheme is also on the cluster scheme. Today, let's say we talk of a cluster, electronic manufacturing cluster. Let's say we talk of a storage cluster. I think one of the recommendations I would say, can we look at a storage cluster being developed, since there's a huge potential, and that cluster can have all the ecosystem companies and the elements over there, so that every company, there's a benefit of the ecosystem in terms of the supply chain being available there, the warehouse being available there, the skill development center being available there, etc., etc. Now, what does this cluster talk about? Again, a policy or a package incentive available from the Government of India. Sorry that maybe some of the figures are in INR. I probably should have done converted them into $1 but for the benefit of the foreign delegates. The scheme says that if you have this is a scheme applicable to both a greenfield cluster and a brownfield cluster. Now, how do you distinguish between both the clusters? A brownfield cluster is where there are already companies existing over there. Let's say, talk of a Pune. Pune, there's already companies like, let's say, Siemens or Panasonic or Luminous or other companies. That means that cluster already has a number of companies. That classifies as a brownfield cluster. A greenfield cluster by name is all open. Companies have yet to come in. So that the scheme gives different benefits for different clusters. For a greenfield cluster, the scheme is that if there's a 100 acres piece of land and you have a project cost coming up to, again, the benefit is available only to support the common facilities or common infrastructure required by the companies operating in that cluster, which means companies like Siemens, Panasonic, or whatever companies are coming over there. Let's say they need a common test equipment. They need a power backup, or not a power backup. Power backup is actually a storage solution to the power. Let's say you need some kind of a training center, testing center, skill development center, calibration center, reliability lab to probably test your products. These are kind of the facilities which are common to all the companies coming over there. And let's say if aggregate of those facilities is coming to about, say, $20 million or whatever amount, government will fund 75% in case of a brownfield cluster 50% in a greenfield cluster, the cap is up to $10 million or $8 to $10 million because of the conversion rate. If I'm taking a 60 rupees, it's currently at $8 million. That's a kind of a benefit which government can give for the benefit of creating an ecosystem there. But again, I think the benefit is probably not adequate. We need a larger amount of incentive support to create that kind of a support ecosystem. But nevertheless, that's currently the policy available under this. The next, that is on the innovation part. But if I was to move back on these two schemes, I will also say that some of these incentives are also supplemented by the state governments. Now, these two incentives are available from the Government of India, from the Department of Electronics and Information Technology, where we closely work with. But some of the states where we closely rely, for example, states like Karnataka, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, UP, etc. Some of these states have already announced their policies and they are ready to give an additional incentive apart from whatever incentives are available over here. For example, Government of Odisha, they say they can give another 20% of capital subsidy. Of course, there's a cap to what extent they can give. But I'm just saying, without naming specific incentives or specific states, the benefits are like capital subsidy, it's a reimbursement of taxes, exemption from other duties, some benefit in terms of training fee. Let's say you want to train your staff, they will support those training expenses, etc. Some of these benefits, if layered on top of these, they probably make it an attractive package for some companies to look at setting up some kind of a manufacturing facilities in some of these states. Yes.
If I could just ask a question to kind of round it up, and that is, you mentioned Panasonic, you mentioned Siemens, both foreign origins. Does this apply to a private limited company that has foreign origins? This is for everybody? And then where do we apply? Do we apply to you or do we apply to the DIPP?
Right. So the policy is applicable to any company, MNC, domestic, private, anybody, as long as they are registered in India. It's a very simple process for applying. There's an online application process over there. You have to go to the website of Department of Electronics and IT, and there are application forms for the benefit. I can later on submit those links as well. And then it's a mechanism which is then online. And now the good part is this policy has been in place for about a year and a half. There have been teething times like any other government policy in terms of implementation. But I think we are at a stage where we are past those teething times, and any fresh application coming in over there, I think the process is probably in about 3 to 4 months. You can get the appraisal done and then move ahead with the disbursements, etc. So the first couple of applications from actually Siemens, Samsung, Bosch, on the automotive side and something on the mobile side, they are going to get actual cash subsidy of that 20 or 25% probably in a month or two from the investment they made. So that I'm saying these are good signs that these policies are, the implementation is actually happening. So there are positive signs of that. That's on the manufacturing side. Just touching up maybe a couple of minutes on the innovation part. How government is trying to encourage the indigenous product development and the IPs. So there is a first kind of a public-private partnership incubation center in electronics, which is being set up in Delhi. Again, ISA is one of the stakeholders over there. And together with the Government of India and the software technology parks, we are going to set up this incubation center. Rakesh talked about how we want to create an ecosystem for innovation. And in this incubation center, we have all the elements of that ecosystem. For example, mentoring, the lab equipment, the VC arms, the outreach, etc., etc. So that's it. And these practices have been taken from the global incubation centers, and this is a 100% government-funded project. But again, industry connected over there. That's how it's a public-private partnership. And we are looking at creating such kind of incubation centers across the country, of course, to start with one in each region, so that the benefit of these startups in those kind of local regions or eastern, western, etc., they can take the benefit of these kind of incubation centers, and we can start developing some kind of products. Especially when you look at the storage part, there's a lot of customization or storage solutions required, customized to the Indian market. So maybe those kind of indigenous products need to be developed, suiting Indian requirements, Indian solutions, and that's what these kind of incubation centers would support. I think I have one more slide, but I think in the interest, I've covered both the Make in India in terms of the manufacturing as well as the product development. Any questions on it?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ricky. Thank you. So hearing with a last name like Shah, which sounds like you're from the state of Gujarat, the Prime Minister is from Gujarat, and with all the goodies that Rajiv just offered, what's the problem? Sounds like everything should be hunky-dory.
I'll touch upon what are the bottlenecks and what are the problems. Okay. I will be using the presentation. I'll briefly skip all the previous slides because probably everybody knows about Panasonic, so I will not speak much about that. I will directly go to the main area of today's topic and today's discussion. Just before that, Panasonic has decided India is a strategic location, and this is the headquarters outside Japan. For Make in India, this is a very, very big decision, and it's a very big move. From here, we will be controlling the markets of India, South Asia, Middle East, and Africa. So, with this, I'll set the ball rolling in the direction for Make in India. So far, Panasonic has been investing in India market. We are here since 1972. I am in charge for energy storage products for Panasonic devices. We are here since 1972. We started with dry cell, and continuously we have been engaging and investing in the Indian market continuously. The latest one is the joint venture, which is for the lead storage battery. It is in Himachal again, very close by the Rakesh's factory. This factory will be incorporated and starting production from October next year. I will skip this slide. What we have to offer in the energy solution space for India market. We have energy generation by wind panels, solar panels. We have storage, so we have lead acid batteries and lithium-ion batteries. And then we also have management solutions, energy management solutions. Now, why do I talk about energy management solutions? Basically, we make batteries. But when we go with these batteries to a lot of applications, a lot of industries, people say, okay, all right, you have battery, how do I use it? So then we thought that it's better to give them one-stop solution. And that is where we came in with the integration of giving a complete one-stop solution with energy management. Today I'm going to cover mostly about the storage part. So I'll talk about the lead acid factory, our commitment towards Make in India. This is the factory I was talking about. So the capacity will be 1.4 million batteries. We will do automotive as well as batteries for UPS, inverters, and storage applications. This is the location. So already we have covered the steps until 2014 October. The second investment has already been made, and we are going to make the third investment very soon from April. The location why we chose this place is because the ecosystem for VRLA battery manufacturing exists there. So one of the suppliers of our lead forms almost 60 to 65% of the battery composition of a VRLA battery. And the quality of lead that we are looking for is available in this region. So to save the transportation cost and also a lot of headache for bringing in and bringing out the products, so we chose this location. And this is also a part of the dialogue which Rakesh had initiated. So we also need to find, for electronics, there is a lot of ecosystem available. Like Mr. Jain also spoke about clusters for electronic manufacturing. There are incentives and funds available. But for storage, there is nothing such available. So this is one area which I would like to bring and highlight or appeal based on Ron's initial statement that what should we bring to the government, what should we ask Modi-san to do for encouraging the storage industry. So ecosystem is available in bits and pieces, in pockets, and that is the reason today there are more than 30 brands of VRLA battery manufacturers in India, but they are all concentrated in one location. They are all concentrated in some area, some zone, some cluster. So how can we overcome that? How can we make policies or directives to encourage storage manufacturing in India? The way forward, we also heard about lithium-ion technology, so I will not go very much deep into this. Lithium-ion is a far more superior technology on 3 counts for me as compared to VRLA battery. It can charge very fast, it can charge very quickly. It is very compact and small in size. The cycle life of this product is almost, I can say, 5 times or 6 times easily as compared to a VRLA battery. Under any conditions, including the Indian conditions, it does not require controlled temperature for performance. Like for example, for VRLA battery, we require controlled air conditioning kind of an environment for the battery to perform. This battery can perform outdoors at 50 degrees ambient temperature as well. So with this kind of storage solution available and such kind of innovative product available, why still we are not able to adopt this technology quickly, or why we are not able to bring in, to bridge the energy gap, the divide which is there today we are facing in India. These are the product roadmap. As I said, one of the bottleneck was, okay, we have lithium-ion battery systems. How do we adapt that into the existing applications? For example, a backup for a hotel like this. We require a huge, large kVA UPS inverter system. Battery itself is available, but you need to integrate that with a charging system. You need to integrate that with the ecosystem of the complete solution. And that is one of the bottlenecks. We have solutions available for certain applications, up to a certain kilowatt, but we don't have large-scale solutions available at this moment. So what we did was, we made our own solution. We said, okay, let's get into the problem points or the pain points, and let us try to give, at least target one industry first. So with that, we had a success story. We penetrated into the BTS backup application as a first step. And thankfully, I have Mr. Manoran here from the Reliance, my friend. They were the early adopters of this technology for BTS backup. They were the first people to accept our technology and use lithium-ion battery system into actual backup. 24/7 application, which is a BTS, and the initial investment cost is high, but if you calculate the TCO, it is very, very favorable, because this battery can give you a life of up to 5 years. And for a VRLA battery, in a typical environment like this, you need to replace the battery every 1 year, 1.5 years. So end of the day, you end up paying more using a VRLA battery. When I compare the TCO with the DG set, or diesel generator, not only you are emitting carbon dioxide, but also to run the DG, you require, in India, basically, average grid is available for 12 hours in a day. If you run the DG for 12 hours for backup, you require almost 2.5 times. That's almost close to 36 liters of diesel. 36 liters of diesel. So, if you replace that system by lithium-ion battery system, you can charge the battery in a couple of hours, like 1 hour or 2 hours, up to 3 hours. It will give you a backup for 8 hours. So if you do 2 cycles in a day, you completely remove your DC. And with this, you can save on an average per tower around 20,000 rupees per tower. It's a huge amount of saving that we do. So thanks Manoran San for accepting this technology and adopting it. I'm looking forward to bringing this to new applications like this, industrial, home, small stores. We also had a couple of people who are talking about commercial applications where storage can be used. Yes, we also agree, we also feel, and especially for grid support as well. So we can shave the peak, and while electricity is being generated and stored into the lithium-ion battery system in the night time, when the load is less, we can use the same stored energy in the daytime when the peak is at maximum. And that is where such kind of environment and support system can help to improve the energy situation of India. So finally, what I want to say is our mission is none other than what Mr. Modi's mission is. We want to create and lead the energy storage solutions in India to reduce the TCO and the CO2, and also to contribute for the betterment of energy situation in India. That is our vision. We have the core technologies. What we want is, we want a recognition as a green energy solution, to get some kind of incentive or to get some kind of appreciation. Today, when we talk about an electric vehicle, when an electric vehicle uses lithium-ion battery, everybody says, wow, this is a green vehicle, it's a green technology. But the same thing applied into a telecom, we have no recognition. Same thing applied into a UPS or an inverter in a house, there is no recognition. So we want that green energy recognition from government of India. And also, as I said, the capital cost for these technologies is high right now. One of the bottlenecks we face is the financial schemes and funds. There are a lot of schemes and funds available for electronic manufacturing. A lot of funds available for for testings and labs and everything. But there is no fund available for promotion of such technology. It is for the improvement and betterment of energy situation in India. But there is no fund, there is no scheme, nothing available. Also, subsidy. Currently, these products that we are making, we are importing. We have a plan. As I said, we are doing the feasibility study. We would like to do the development in India, and we would like to also make this product in India eventually. But we have to build up the volumes. We could start the VRLA battery factory because there is a demand. There is huge potential. There is huge volume that we can see. But for lithium-ion, also we see the demand. We also see the volume. But we need to build up the numbers before we actually start using the product here. So till that time, we need help to subsidize the duties for making these, bringing these products in India, and also for taxes, so that we can locally at least start with some kind of assemblies and then popularize these products. And once they have been accepted, we would like to do the full-fledged manufacturing in India. So that's what we want to do, make a better life, a better world. That's what we promise, and that's what we will always do. Thank you very much.
Mr. Saha, Siemens, you've been here for at least 100 years. Making it in.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gaur Saha. Having almost 22 years experience in various role of transmission and distribution industries. Now presently responsible for energy management portfolio of Siemens based in Gurgaon. I think the theme is Make in India, fits to Siemens. Siemens, it's a long history and enduring partnership with India. 1867, almost 144 years back, there was a telegraph line was laid from Kolkata to London, about 11,000 kilometers. It was Siemens who started. One message from London to India is taking more than 30 days. After installing this line, it was only 18 minutes the message was transferred from Europe to India. That is where the Siemens started journey. We are founded in 1922, and today we are having 56 offices in India, having 23 factories and 11 research and development centers in India. We have piloted initiative, we've taken the initiative to develop this skill in India for the engineering and the technicians, and that's in operation in Gujarat. This company is incorporated in India in 1971 with a very strong governance and eminent personalities of board members. What we make in India, we have 23 factories in India. The interesting part is India have developed 32 smart products. These are really smart. These are simple, reliable, affordable, and maintenance-free. These 32 smart products are not only for India, it's for the global market, and it's made in India. They start from X-ray machine, portable X-ray machine, to steam turbine. Even the distribution ringman unit, steel plant product, the full across the whole infrastructure, Siemens make in India. We have added 10 state-of-the-art factories in India from 2006 onwards. We are the first to supply world highest voltage level 1200 kilovolt circuit breaker made in India in Aurangabad to power grid test lab in Bina. Nowhere in the world this 1200 kV technology exists. It was made Siemens in India and supplied to India. That is what Siemens make in India. We build infrastructure for the country. We are the first to make 800 kV high voltage DC private link for Adani Power in Mundra. We made the multi-specialty clinic in Gurgaon, that is Meda City, Medanta. We built the city in Delhi, the smart city, the airport, the metro. We supplied 130 energy efficient rail trains, which saves more than 30% of the energy. This is what Siemens makes in India. Siemens has been the technology partner for India for many years. Our values are innovations, excellence, and responsibility. We do the clean business, and we need the expedite decision to contribute in India's growth. Coming to this energy storage, we provide solutions. My friends spoke about the batteries. We provide the complete energy storage solutions, and our base is already established in India. The engineers have been trained to provide the integrated solutions to the market need. Coming back to what we need, I think it's good that Mr. Jain has mentioned about the incentives and some benefits. What we need is to look into the regulatory framework for an investor to see the visibility about their forecast for the plan. For them to predict the business, there has to be a sustainable framework in which an investor invests money. We as a solution provider and also a business house who wants to invest in this particular technology, they need to have a visibility, the transparency in the regulatory framework. This morning, our Honorable Joint Secretary, MNRD, I think Mr. Tarun Kapoor has already mentioned about this. This definitely is the first step, is a good step, which will generate motivation to the investors. When we talk about the regulatory framework, for example, what is the transparency level of the predictability of the grid feeding? What is the financial loss to the companies who frequently cut the load shedding, the power load shedding? What is the better forecasting? If there is a good framework in the regulatory, that will definitely motivate investors to invest in this technology in the country. Today, we don't know what is the future of this business. We have the technology, we have to do it in India, but we need this regulatory framework to be framed and published transparently for us to project the business plan, to have the forecast in place. I think I understand that the regulatory have already formed a core task force to work on a renewable energy area for this energy storage policy, but that is one step. This needs to be implemented in all other areas. For example, if somebody wants to invest in the energy storage to deal with the frequency event, how he will be paid? An investor who wants to keep this device to store the power when there is a frequency event in the grid, he should know that yes, he will be paid on certain amount for this investment. Such kind of regulatory frameworks need to be brought in a transparent way so that an investor makes his plan to invest in this technology in India. Second part, when we talk about the localization, our experience has been we have to depend on outside vendor for some time. For example, in our solutions, we have to depend for some time on the power electronics equipment. We have to depend on the battery manufacturer from outside. For us to make this solution viable, it's important to look into the tax structure, the customs duty, the import duty, what we pay to these equipments. So today, it's important for the government to look into the tax structure to make this particular solution viable. And once the business come up in the market, I'm sure the foreign vendor also will be interested to invest in India, and they will start manufacturing in India all those equipment. And that's how Make in India, the theme will be more successful with certain changes in the policy of the regulatory framework and also some incentive in terms of the import duty by the foreign suppliers. That's all from my side. Thank you very much.
I have one additional idea, and it's something that I'd like to enlist the entire alliance in thinking about. We have the Indian Energy Storage Alliance already formed. It's a major lobbying advocacy body. We've heard today from various speakers about the need for additional R&D. Even our friend from Panasonic says we need some more money injected into this technology to prove it out, to test it out. I don't think that money's going to come from the government. I think the days of subsidies are not going to be very bright. Countries are strapped for money. We also heard today about how energy reliability in India is a matter of national security. I believe it was Y.P. Chawla who discussed that in relation to Lakshadweep and Andaman and Nicobar Islands. But when you think of the hinterlands of India, when you think of half the population that's still living with major power cuts for most of the night, there is an urgent need on a national security basis to be developing reliable off-grid power which requires energy storage. I'm suggesting there is a regulatory policy in place already, if only we could tweak it and slightly expand it. And I call upon the Alliance to think about this. It's called the India Defense Offsets Program. It's a huge corpus of money. When Boeing sells India C-17 jets or P-8I naval reconnaissance aircraft, when Dassault tries to sell the MMRCA, the multi-role combat aircraft to India, when Lockheed Martin sells the C-130Js to India, they have an obligation that a 30% valuation of that sale amount has to be reinvested back into India in India defense manufacturing. That definition has now been broadened to include civil aviation and radar and homeland security. So those same companies, rather than investing only in the Indian defense industry manufacturing, can now be investing in radar, in homeland security, and in civil aviation. If we as an organization could push a little bit harder and say, what about energy storage? It's a high technology industry. It's eminently exportable beyond India. It's needed in India, but it could be exported to other countries. It could become a major manufacturing opportunity for the country. And it requires high technology transfer from multinational companies that already have an obligation to India. Already on the Indian offsets books, there is $4 billion of defense offset obligations waiting to be spent. If only we could encourage the government of India to consider energy security and energy storage as part of that definition. I'm suggesting the money's there. There's a lot of money on the table there, and it's a matter, when you think, you can even start with your military bases in the hinterland. Think of the military that are up there in, all the way up in the parts of Leh and Ladakh, along the border of Nepal, the hinterland troops, the border security force. Think of all those microgrids that would benefit from renewable energy and energy storage, and that would easily qualify for defense offset. We need to be encouraging Mr. Parakar, the defense minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley in the Prime Minister's office, Piyush Goyal, to consider now wrapping energy storage technology into the defense offsets program. It would unlock a massive amount of money that would stimulate everything that we're trying to do here in this room. Any other thoughts? I mean, am I off the wall? Rajiv, is there any way that we can work with you and your association and push in this direction? The goal is, how do we get energy storage commercial in India? And India is the likely home for energy storage, production, manufacturing, and export. This could be a major energy export for India's future. So I thank my panelists. I know that everybody's been here a long time today. We have another day coming tomorrow. But thank you very much. Namaskar.
A warm thank you to all the speakers for this session. May I please request for the gifts as a token of appreciation, and as usual, I call Rahul on the stage to give away the gifts to our speakers, please. Mr. Ron Somers. Mr. Hiren Shah. Mr. Gaur Saha. And Mr. Rajiv Jain. So once again, a round of applause for all our speakers for this last session. So may I request all of you, before you leave the room, if you can please fill out the feedback forms